Hey YouTube, Kiritwig here, bringing you all an update to my Fortune Fairy Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for August 2024. It's been a while since I've updated the Fortune Fairy deck. For those of you that don't know, this was the main archetype that Carly used in the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds series before she was a Dark Signer and used the Fortune Lady cards. The Fortune Fairies are definitely, I would say, a weaker version of the deck, but they focus more on draw power, being able to special summon themselves out and then get different card effects when you special summon them out from the hand. So we have lots of draw power in the deck to help with this playstyle and set up the many different Fortune Fairy monsters with, once they're special summoned on the field, become a pretty good engine for extra deck summoning. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the Fortune Fairy monsters. For starters, we'll go right from the level 1 all the way up to the level 6. We're running 3 copies of the level 1 Fortune Fairy Hikari. When you draw this card, you can reveal it, special summon it from your hand. If it's special summoned from the hand, you can target one monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one level 1 spellcaster monster from your deck. You can use this effect of Hikari once per turn. Since the update of the Fortune Fairy deck, we actually got a better target for the level 1 summon in the deck, which we'll get to after the Fortune Fairy monsters, because before we would just have Jester Confit as another additional resource to get onto the field, but all that would do is allow us to have some rank 1 Xyz summoning, which we do have in the deck still, but the big play is being able to then search out another powerful spell with the card we summon off of our Fortune Fairy card. But we do need other monsters to be able to use this effect. You can target one monster you control, so you could technically send Hikari off of herself as well for the send, but still, depending on the play you want to go for that summon. We also run 3 copies of Fortune Fairy N. When you draw this card, you can reveal it, special summon it from your hand, and if this card's special summoned from the hand, you can target a set card your opponent controls and destroy it. So it's a 3-of just for being a better destruction card as well for your opponent's cards, being one of the easier monsters to be able to summon out if we have to normal summon a Fortune Fairy monster as well. Because with Hikari, you can always normal summon out your other Fortune Fairy, draw into this card, and then have it be special summoned onto the field also. Also running 3 copies of Fortune Fairy Who with this card. When you draw it, having the same special summon effect to reveal it in your hand. And if it's special summoned from the hand, you can target one of your banished spellcaster monsters, add to your hand. You can always use each effect of Who once per turn. So more of a banish option. Very, very useful for some of our other Fortune Fairy monsters to rely on Who to add those cards back to our hand. Because even if it does add to our hand, there are other cards that at least allow us to special summon our Fortune Fairy monsters back into the field, like our Unacceptable Result, being able to just special summon a Fortune Fairy monster from our hand and not even be a once per turn on top of that. For some of the other Fortune Fairies, 2 copies of Fortune Fairy Sui. When you draw this card, you can reveal it, special summon it, and if it's special summoned from the hand, you can target one other face-up monster in the field, banish it until the standby phase of your next turn. So this could be one of the targets you go for Hue for the special summon. If you wanted to run 3 copies, you can mix and match the Hue and Sui numbers for the special summon to banish options for these cards. But we are also just running the 1 copy of Fortune Fairy Anne. We're having the same reveal and special summon option when you draw it. If it's special summoned from the hand, you can banish 1 spellcaster monster from your deck. You can only use each effect of Anne once per turn, but it works well with the Sui option also, because then you have Hue to then special summon out, and then grab the card that you special summoned for the Hue to add back to hand that you banished off of the Anne as well. It's a little more specific for the setup. That's why we only run the 1-of copy of it, but we also do run the 3 copies of Fortune Fairy Chi to finish off our Fortune Fairy monsters. When you draw this card, you have the reveal and special summon, and if it's special summoned from the hand, you can make each player draw 1 card. So what makes Chi better than the level 4 and 5 options is because we get a draw that can continue our Fortune Fairy special summon with that draw, even if it means giving our opponent 1 of the draws as well. And if you didn't know, Fortune Fairy Chi is one of the more bad luck Fortune Fairies for the Duel Links game, when you reveal, with Hikari being one of the better luck cards to reveal on top of that. Now, the other monster that we can special summon off of the Fortune Fairy Hikari is Dimension Conjurer. If it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 magical dimension from your deck or graveyard to your hand. With this card, that is the main play we want to go for, because with that, we have a destruction card searched off of our Fortune Fairy Hikari play, just being able to target a monster we control, tribute it, then special summon 1 spellcaster monster from our hand, which also extends the special summon from hand play that the deck is meant to do. And Dimension Conjurer can search the card from the graveyard also. That's why you only need the 1 copy of Magical Dimension and then the 2 of copies to at least have another target, because then once again we can send Hikari and special summon out Dimension Conjurer from the deck to the field. And for the spells, that is it for the monsters. Staying clear of the hand traps, just because with all the draw engines, we want to be able to at least get into some of the more engine cards in the deck. That's why there's not really a hand trap focus in the deck. Trust me, it's not really going to help with the consistency of the deck. You just want entire engine to make this deck work for the most part. So for those spells, 3 copies of Unacceptable Result. The biggest weakness for the Fortune Fairies is having one in your hand, because then you missed out on the draw for it to be able to summon down to the field. But Unacceptable Result is basically the wording for it. It's, the result you don't want, having the Fortune Fairy monster in your hand. So you can use this if you at least control another spellcaster monster to special summon that additional Fortune Fairy from your hand, and then gain the effect of that card when it was special summoned from the hand. Also 3 copies of Lucky Loan. You target 1 Fortune Fairy monster you control, special summon 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or deck, whose original level is 1 lower than that monster's. Also during your next turn after this resolves, you cannot normal or special summon except for spellcaster monsters. So really not a restriction for the deck, but just being able to, have your normal summon of one of your other Fortune Fairy monsters, and then just in respect go into the lower level of those cards is always a big help, just to get that special summon onto the field as well for that additional monster from your hand or deck. Now remember, you need the special summon from the hand to gain the additional effect of the card, but other times it's just option for that summon onto the field to grab another monster as well. And then also having that original level monster for that special summon, just giving you that extra resource on the field also. Now for the next spell lineup, I have 1 copy of Magician's Right Hand, Magician's Left Hand, and Miracle Stone for this lineup here. Now the big thing with these cards is you can only control 1 Miracle Stone. That's why I'm only running the 1-of copy of it. It gives your Fortune Fairy and spellcaster monsters 500 attack and defense for each Fortune Fairy monster you control with different names. And once per turn, when an attack is declared involving your Fortune Fairy monster, you can draw 1 card. Magician's Left Hand and Right Hand help to restrict your opponent for spell and trap cards while you control a spellcaster monster the first time each one would be activated. So if you wanted to run Miracle Stone, you could place it in here for these spots. If not, if you wanted to go for more of a 1-of option, because once again, these are continuous spells and they will fill up your field, and you can only have 1 Miracle Stone to begin with, you can either add additional copies of Miracle Stone or have the 1-of count that I have here for these cards. I also run 3 copies of Spell Book of Knowledge. It's draw power, sending to the graveyard 1 spellcaster monster you control. So if you have that Fortune Fairy that was special summoned from the hand onto the field, you can send it, draw 2 more cards, and then potentially draw in 2 either needed cards for your engine or more Fortune Fairies to reveal and special summon. And I also run the 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. If your opponent tries to activate a monster effect, in return, you can activate Triple Tactics Talent and then just get a draw 2 with no restrictions and potential, going into more of your engine for you to use also. The same goes for Pot of Desires. Aside from a couple 1-ofs, there's a majority of 3-ofs for a good amount of the Fortune Fairy monsters. So with the Banish 10 for this card, drawing 2, once again, it just helps to extend your engine. And then for the 1-ofs for the spells, I run the 1 copy of Magical Dimension. Once again, it's searchable off of Dimension Conjurer, and it can be added back from the graveyard as well. That's why we only need the 1 copy of this card. The best thing is to go for the Hikari play if you're going to Desires. Always have the Hikari play to at least summon out the Conjurer, then grab your Magical Dimension, and then go for the Desires if need be. If you have that play available to you, so you don't hit any of the 1-ofs to make any of the engines dead. And then also the 1 copy of Call by the Grave, 1 Magicalized Fusion. You can set up your fairy monsters quite easily in the graveyard with this card, and then go into some bigger monsters like Quintet Magician as one of your bigger boss monsters to use in the extra deck also. And 1 card destruction, once again, having cards that, may not be the best in hand to use, discard it off, and then draw into the better engine also. With the last of our main deck cards being the 3 copies of Upstart Goblin. Once again, a card that was back at 3, helping for draw power in exchange for just giving your opponent some life points. And then that is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. Our only fusion monster for Magicalized Fusion is Quintet Magician, needing 5 spellcaster type monsters. So the more you special out your Fortune Fairies, you can use them for extra deck plays, building them up in the graveyard for you then to banish off of Magicalized Fusion. The 1 copy of Relinquish Anima, the 1 copy of Salamangreat Almirage, the 1 copy of Donner Dagger for Hire, 1 Lena, 1 Asa, and 1 Dark. These were my preferred for the Charmers to use in the deck, but you can mix and match them because we do have all the different attributes attributes to use in the deck also. The 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus, the 1 Silhouette Rabbit, the 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and the 1 Access Code Talker to finish off the Link monsters. And with the use of Dimension Conjurer, decide to stick with rank 1 monsters for the majority of our Xyz monsters, 1 Slacker Magician, 1 Kikunagashi Fucho, the 1 Rutopia Roots, and the 1 Zeus to finish off the Xyz monsters and the extra deck. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, now on big for the combos, there really are not any combos in the deck. It all comes down to just your draw power, and this being a lucky fortune deck, if you're lucky with your draws, like let's say you just have your Fortune Fairy monster out and you activate your Spellbook of Knowledge, it all comes down to what you draw. If you get lucky and reveal a Fortune Fairy monster, then you have your special summon, and depending on the Fortune Lady, it will also determine your luck. If you draw into something to potentially extend your draws, then the plays continue, and that's just where you go from there. You keep drawing until you reveal and summon out a good number of Fortune Fairy monsters. You can only use each one per turn, but that kind of plays into the fact that these are the fortunes, so you get 1 fortune per day or turn in this case, and then you make use of them when you have them on the field. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.